Hello and welcome. I am Jacqueline Whitmore, and this is Ask the Etiquette Expert. This is a weekly series that I am starting this spring, and it's a chance for me to answer all of your burning etiquette questions. And I've been teaching etiquette now for about 25 years, and it seems like every single week I get questions from my newsletter subscribers and the media and friends and family members. So I thought it might be fun to do an Ask the Etiquette Experts series where I could come on for 20, 25 minutes and answer your top etiquette questions. So if you have any questions for me, you just go to my website, which is etiquetteexpert.com, and you can click on my email and send them directly to me. So since most of you are new to Ask the Etiquette Expert series, I printed out some questions that I've received over the last couple of weeks, and I'm just going to go through them, and you can type your question in the chat and I can see them as they come in. And hello, Douglas. It's nice to see you. If you have any etiquette questions, just type them in the chat. And if you don't, just sit back and relax. And like I said, I will be covering a range of topics. Sometimes I'll be talking about business etiquette and sometimes social etiquette. So it's a range. So the first question, let's see here. Let's start with this first question. This one comes from Anna, and Anna writes, I'm teaching my children to use the terms ma'am and sir. I wondered if I could get your comments on if and why it's important. How would you respond to parents who don't teach it because they feel it has classist and racist roots? And what are polite alternatives for people who choose not to use those terms? Well, thank you, Anna, for that question. My response to this is, well, first of all, I grew up in the South, and my mother and grandmother raised me to say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. And as I got older, I started using it less and less because I started traveling to places, and I started living in different places like Boston and Washington, D.C., and other areas, Minnesota, where I wasn't hearing the terms yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And I was becoming an adult. So I stopped using those terms. Do I use them now? Sometimes. It just depends. When I want to show a sense of respect to one of my elders, I have been known to use that and say, yes, sir. However, what this person is asking is why it's important. So that's up to the individual. I have known many families in the military who insist that their child says yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. I'd be really interested in hearing what you think about yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and what your opinion on that is. So, how would you respond to parents who don't teach it because they feel it has classist and racist roots? My answer is that if a parent does not want to teach their child to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, what I would say would be, or what my recommendation would be as a smart alternative would be yes, Mrs. Smith, no, Mr. Smith. I always encourage young people to address their elders by Mr. or Mrs. until they are told otherwise. Even in business, I will address someone of importance, my superior, as Mr. or Ms. until I'm told to call them by their first name. I know that Some of you parents out there don't want to be addressed by your surname, and that's fine. You say, oh, just call me Liz or just call me Jim. And that's okay. That's your prerogative. But you must be respectful to the parents who are trying to teach their children to say uh, Mr. or Ms. out of respect. So whether it's Mr. or Ms. or yes, ma'am or no, ma'am, I think it is a personal choice. And if you have traveled to different places, or if you plan on traveling to different parts of the world, you might look a little silly. People might look at you like, what are you saying? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. Uh, so just be prepared for that. So I guess my answer would be it depends. And when I say it depends, all etiquette is situational. It's not black and white. What might work for your family might not work for someone else's family. Okay, let's go on to the next question. This question, oh my goodness, this is a really long one. This one is from Alice. Okay, so Alice read somewhere on the internet here. She said, okay, she read somewhere that there was an altercation on a train when a man wasn't respecting the rules of the quiet carriage. Okay, so if you've ever been on a public train, you know you pay extra for those seats that are more quiet, where you can read, you can do your work, you can sleep, um, and so forth. So she goes on to say, uh, this woman had specifically booked a seat on a quiet carriage to get some work done, and around 15 minutes into the journey, a man sat down next to her and started watching the sitcom Friends out loud on the train. After a while, she asked, "Excuse me, would you mind turning that down just a little, please?" He said no, literally one word, no. She recalled. Then I mentioned that it was the quiet section of the train, and he laughed at me and said, "You are going to tell on me?" As he continued to watch the show out loud, the woman calmly closed her laptop and decided to watch it with him, loudly commenting on the show too. OMG, I love this bit, she said. And watch the next part. It's so funny. The man didn't comment but looked irritated. Before long, he slammed the iPad case shut, grabbed his bag, and left the carriage, presumably to find another seat. The woman's friend said that she felt she was a little bit rude to the man and invaded his personal space, but she stood to her guns and explained she had paid extra for the quiet section of the train. What would you do? Okay, so let me wrap this up in a nutshell. A woman is sitting next to a man on the quiet train. He opens up his iPad or laptop and he starts watching a sitcom, and he starts laughing and carrying on. Well, she tells him, this is the quiet car. And anyway, you get the gist of it. So the etiquette is, when you sit in a quiet car on Amtrak or any other train, you have to respect the rules. It's like sitting in first class. Of course, back in the old days, we would have to dress up. I used to be a flight attendant, and we used to love to see how people dress for first class. Now it's not so much anymore. But the quiet car rules still remain the same. It's for people who want to get some work done, who want to sleep, who want to rest, or whatever. It's for keeping your voice down. The fact that this man violated those rules was a faux pas. And then the woman kindly said something to him. So the fact that she said something to him, she was taking matters into her own hands. So she said it nicely, and he simply refused. What she could have done at that point was ask to be removed. She could have alerted the conductor or whoever was monitoring that section of the train, and could have said something and asked to be moved. I always say, instead of being combative and rude to other people, because rudeness breeds rudeness, just go ahead and ask for another seat if there is one. So, what she decided to do is fight fire with fire. What she decided to do was sit there and watch the show with him and comment loudly. Now you have two rude people disrupting the people around them. Now she's at fault as well as this man. So I wouldn't recommend doing that at all. So my recommendation is that she was in the wrong. He was in the wrong. It could have been handled a little bit differently. The conductor could have said something, but the fact that she participated and she stepped down to his level put her in the wrong as well. So my one of my mentors used to say, don't take always take the high road, because the low road is always so crowded. So if you have any comments on this quiet train experience, please let me know. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, this one, and I think, how much time do we have? We still have a few minutes. This one comes from Valerie, and she's asking about bridal shower cards. Now, what I'm assuming this means is that she's getting ready to go to a bridal shower, and she's going to present a card, just like a greeting card, to the bride. And so let's see what she has to say. Okay. She wants to know what to write inside a bridal shower card. And do you write congratulations? What do you say? Well, of course, you say congratulations. Why wouldn't you say congratulations? This is a momentous occasion. Sometimes the bridal showers are co-ed these days, so you would put both the bride and bride's name, or bride and groom, or groom and groom. And you would mention their name, and you would say congratulations on your engagement. I wish you many happy years ahead. Love, Jacqueline, or whatever. How much should you put in a bridal shower card? And I'm assuming she's meaning how much verbiage. I don't think you need to put a whole lot, because when you go to your local store and you pick out these cards, they often have a really nice saying inside of them. But I also recommend that you go the extra mile and you write 2 or 3 lines, something personal directly to the bride or the groom, or both. Because it personalizes it. She says here, do you put both names on a bridal shower card? You do, if both will be in attendance. And even if they're not in attendance, it's a congratulatory card to the couple. So why not put both of their names? And she says, do you write a bridal shower card to the bride and groom? I think that's redundant. What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when it comes to bridal shower cards? I wouldn't really call it a mistake, but I would say when you don't personalize it, when you just send a card and you just sign it with your name only. It's not really a mistake, but it's just less personal. It's more impersonal. Or if you don't want to include a card, I would say if you're giving some sort of little gift, you need to include something that lets the person know it's from you. I have received gifts over the years, and I'm sure you have too, from people who forgot to include a card, and you open up this lovely gift and you have no idea who it's from. So, that's always a mystery. So I hope that helps, Valerie. And again, if you have any questions, you can write them in at info@etiquetteexpert.com. You can write them into Facebook, send me a DM on Instagram, send me a message on Twitter, or all of the social media outlets can reach me. But the most direct is my email, info@etiquetteexpert. I think we have time for one more. Let's see, this one. Oh, this one's a business etiquette question. I love these. Okay. This one is regarding green screens. For those of you who aren't familiar with green screens, sometimes when you do a Zoom call or some sort of virtual conference call, you'll see the person in a different type of background. So I might have a beach background behind me. I might have a picture of a desk behind me. That's what I mean by a virtual background. In fact, I could probably go to my settings here, and I could probably pick a virtual background so you get the idea. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, it may or may not. See, okay. It slows down the internet, so I wouldn't recommend it. Also, when I move my hands, I look like a blob, or I move my head, it just doesn't look professional. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I also think there are other alternatives. So I'm going to turn that off. This is my actual office. So I would recommend a couple things. I would recommend that you set up an office nook in your home if you can, or even in your office. You might want to put a pretty plant or a bookshelf. Just make sure whatever background you're using is neat and tidy and clutter free. And so, what do I think about green screens? Well, I personally don't like them. What's better than a green screen? Maybe when a person blurs out their background, but again, I'm not a fan of the blur. So my suggestion would be just try to make your background as professional as possible. Okay. Hi, Debbie. Debbie just joined us, and she says, thank you for always being so generous and helpful. I really appreciate that, Debbie. And Douglas, I appreciate you being here as well. And so I think that is probably enough for today. So if you would like my free ebook, Master Your Mingle Ability, let's see if I can show it on the screen. Here we go. Just go to my website, etiquetteexpert.com. It's absolutely free. You just click on etiquetteexpert.com. You can go down to the very bottom of the page where it says get Jacqueline's free ebook, and just put your name and email address, and you'll get a copy right away. That also puts you on my free newsletter list, which I try to send out weekly. And you can unsubscribe at any time. And again, I love to hear from all of you about your questions, and hope I can answer them for you. So that's it for today. And again, if you have any other comments, just send them to me. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it. So I hope to see you one day soon. Thanks.